I had almost nothing, but I was about to take a chance that could change my life. Welcome to Mr. Vast Official. I am just a poor man living in a small village in America, and one day I walked into an old abandoned graveyard where forgotten cars had been left to rot for years, and then I saw it, a black smoke 1996 Toyota Hilux Revo buried under dirt, mud, and years of neglect. Nobody wanted it, but somehow I saw something in it. I bought this forgotten Hilux for just a few dollars and brought it home. But could I really turn his filthy abandoned truck into a fully modified look brand new? Watch until the end because this transformation is unbelievable.
Was. Every second of washing revealed more of the truck. Underneath the dirt was a beautiful dark finish. I started wondering how in
The roof and windshield were just as bad. Years of dirt had almost sealed them shut. But one section at a time, I was taking this truck back. Really, the front. Then I reached the front. The mud had hidden almost everything, even the modified grille and bumper. The doors were buried under an unbelievable amount of dirt. Every pass of the pressure washer made the truck look less like a wreck, and more like the lower panels were even worse. Dirt had been packed into every corner. I knew rushing this job would only leave the hidden grime behind, so I took my time. The wheel arches were hiding years of dirt. This was where I really understood how long this truck had been forgotten. I had to clean every hidden corner. These wheels had almost disappeared under the mud. I wanted every part of this Hilux to look new again, not just the parts people could see from far away. Andres. I was finally starting to see the truck I had imagined. The rear was still covered in dirt, but every pass was... The doors were starting to look completely different. The old dirt was gone, and the dark paint finally had room to breathe. The hidden areas were the hardest. Years of mud had packed itself deep inside the wheel arches. I wasn't going to leave any of it behind. Now it was time for the back. The tailgate was almost completely hidden. One pass at a time, I was uncovering another part of my old Hilux. Even the smallest details were buried. When the taillights finally appeared, I knew this wasn't just a pile of metal anymore. It was becoming a truck again. One side was finally starting to look alive. But when I walked around to the other side, I realized I still had a mountain of work ahead of me. Here we go again. The first blast hit the passenger door, and just like before, that beautiful dark paint started appearing underneath. The more mud disappeared, the more confident I became. This old truck had been hiding a finish that deserved another chance. The rear door was packed with dirt too. I wasn't rushing anymore. I wanted this Hilux cleaned properly, from the roof all the way down to the smallest corner. This was the kind of dirt you couldn't see from far away. But I knew it was there, so I went after every hidden layer. The rear wheel arch was hiding another layer of history. Dirt was packed into places I couldn't even reach with my hands. The pressure washer finally opened those hidden spaces. These wheels had been through everything. Once the mud started disappearing, the modified stance of the Hilux became impossible to hide. The first stage was finally finished. For the first time, I could actually see the whole truck. But washing alone wasn't enough. Police. Now came the part I was waiting for. I mixed a strong car shampoo and covered the entire Hilux in foam. This was... I let the shampoo do its job for a moment, and then I started seeing just how much dirt was still trapped in the paint. Now I switched to the soft wash mitt. I didn't want to damage the old paint, so I worked slowly and carefully, panel by panel. The doors needed extra attention. Years of grime had settled into the edges and seams. I cleaned them slowly. The hood had collected years of dust and grime. I kept rinsing the mitt between every section. Slow work was the only way to get this right. The windshield was next. After years buried in dirt, even the glass looked tired. A clean windshield made the whole truck feel younger already. The pressure washer couldn't reach every little space, so I grabbed a detailing brush and went after the grime hiding inside the grille. This was where the real detail work started. Even the headlights had been forgotten. I cleaned them carefully, because small details can completely change the face of a vehicle. I even cleaned the mirrors. It might sound like a small thing, but after seeing this truck buried in mud, every clean detail felt like a victory. The big surfaces looked clean, but the little spaces were telling a different story. I wanted this truck clean everywhere, even where nobody normally looks. Now I had to dry her carefully. I didn't want to leave water spots all over that old paint. The cleaner she became, the roof was finally clean and dry. Looking at it now, it was hard to believe this was the same truck I had found buried in that old graveyard. The hood was next. The black smoke paint was already looking good, but I knew it had much more potential. Washing had brought her back, now I wanted to make her shine. The wheels were one of my favorite parts. Once all that mud disappeared, the modified stance finally stood out. This truck was starting to look tough again. The washing was finished, but the paint still looked tired, so I used a paint cleaner to remove the dullness that years of neglect had left behind.
I moved on to the doors next. The difference wasn't dramatic yet, but the paint was getting deeper and cleaner with every pass.
This was the moment I had been waiting for. I started polishing the paint, carefully bringing back the depth that years of neglect had taken away. I didn't want to rush the polishing. I divided the hood into small sections and worked each one carefully. The driver's door was next. I could actually see the reflection coming back. For a truck this old, that was a huge difference. The rear door was coming alive too. Every panel was beginning to match the one before it, and the Hilux was finally starting to look like one complete truck again. The curved panels were a little more difficult, but this fender was worth taking my time with. Once the reflection started appearing, I knew the paint still had plenty of life left.
Now I had to make the other side match. I had already seen what this paint could do, so I wasn't going to stop halfway. The tailgate was one of the biggest pieces left. Once it started reflecting the sky, I honestly couldn't believe how far this truck had come.
And finally, the last wipe. I looked at every panel, every corner, and every reflection. This was no longer the forgotten truck I had found in that graveyard. The paint was finally shining, but I couldn't forget the wheels. A truck this modified needed its tires to look just as fresh as the body. I gave the wheels one final touch too. Now the whole stance of the Hilux was coming together. Clean paint, clean wheels, and those big off-road tires. The paint wasn't the only thing that needed attention. The old plastic had faded badly, so I brought the trim back too. These little details make a huge difference. The front end was looking strong, but I wanted the metal details to match the paint. Just a little polishing made those old parts stand out again. I walked around her one last time. Every panel was clean. Every wheel was detailed. And that old truck...
A few dollars, a forgotten truck, and a lot of hard work. That's all it took to turn this abandoned Hilux into something I can finally be proud of. This truck was once forgotten among buried cars and covered in years of dirt. Today, it's clean, shining, fully modified.
I couldn't stop at the outside. After everything this Hilux had been through, even the engine bay deserved a little respect.
One final wipe, and that was it. The engine bay was clean, the hood was shining, and the front end finally looked complete.
From the front to the back, every panel looked completely different. This was the same old Hilux, but now nobody would guess where it came from.
This front end was almost unrecognizable when I found it. Now, it was the first thing anyone would notice.
Even the rear was completely transformed. What once looked forgotten now looked like a truck ready for another life. I had bought this truck for just a few dollars because nobody else wanted it. Now I finally felt like I had something worth driving. I started this journey with almost nothing, but I ended it with something money couldn't buy. The feeling of bringing an old truck back to life. I started this journey with almost nothing, but I ended it with something money couldn't buy. The feeling of bringing an old truck back to life.
From a forgotten graveyard to this beautiful machine, this Hilux got a second chance. Welcome to Mr. Wash Official, where every forgotten vehicle